we live in such a fake world where everything is a perception. I really want to showcase the hard work.
Today's guest, you probably known him as Mr. Wraptors.
I got stabbed 11 times. The gun, you got jammed. For every strong hand, there's a stronger hand. It just transitioned. Listen, now I'm going to become a civilian. I'm going to work, and I'm going to really take hard work and dedication and really build something from nothing. I had a vision. I knew I wanted to make a place where it's funky, it's cool, it's a vibrant, atmosphere. I can use that mindset and bring it to the business world. Hard work, it paid off. I mean, multiple Lamborghinis, a couple of Rolls Royces, beautiful house, a beautiful wife and kids. That's not by default. That's, working day in, day out. Money is energy. Scared money don't make money.
Welcome back to another episode of Who Judges the Judge, the podcast intended to make you question the way you judge the world around you. Today's guest, I'm so excited for, it's my good friend Stas. You probably known him as Mr. Wraptors. Mr. Wraptors is the biggest car wrapping company in North America. They have locations throughout Canada, throughout Florida.
Yep.
Are you opening in other states?
We got Cape Town, South Africa, and Dubai.
Amazing.
Yes.
So literally international, they wrap absolutely everything, including private planes, including Lamborghinis that get hung upside down during Art Basel.
Yes.
Anyone has ever seen that hanging Lamborghini?
Crazy.
Painted by Diego Snow,
Yes.
But wrapped by Mr. Wraptors.
Yes.
That was all you.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Amazing.
you for being here.
I'm so grateful for, being here next to you.
I'm grateful to have you. You have an
Thank you.
amazing story, and I don't think a lot of people understand the backstory to what you do. If anyone follows you on Instagram, you are like a motivational force.
I hope
You
so.
really are. No, you
Thank you.
put out all about hard
Yes.
work.
Yes.
I love the videos that show, what people think the boss looks like when he enters
Yes.
Mr. Raptors, and it's you blinged out and
Yes.
not really working hard and kicking your feet up and smoking a cigar.
Yes.
But what it's really like, and you come in this disheveled
Yes.
hurricane of a mess.
Yeah.
But that's really what it's like as the business owner, who's
Mhm.
actively involved in working the business.
That's right.
And you always try to give people that dose of reality. Why? What's the motivation behind you wanting people to see the hard work and effort that goes into being who you are?
I mean, listen, because I come from a humble, beginnings, and it was really tough. I didn't have anybody to look up to. I feel like we live in such a fake world where everything is a perception, right? So I really want to showcase the hard work. It really does pay off. I want to show you the bags under my eyes. I want to show you, the scars and the pains that I live through daily. I mean, having a business is not for everybody, right? You really got to be built for that. And, a lot to do with that came from the streets, being able to sense certain things, opportunities, or things that are going to happen right before they're about to happen. Right. So hard work, it put me in a place where it paid off. Multiple Lamborghinis, a couple of Rolls Royces, beautiful house, a beautiful wife and kids, being next to you. That's not by default. That's, working day in, day out.
You say humble beginnings is where you started. So let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Russia. And I came here with my mom, single mother, beautiful female, strong, independent woman. We were placed in a position where, we couldn't speak English. We had no money. We had nobody to ask for help. We came here in 1999. So it was, it was very challenging. I came from a good family background. My mom was divorced. My father was a general in the army. My mom was independent, and she was always, a hustler and a motivator and just ambitious female. So that's why I really appreciate females, and I think females can do a lot of damage in the world. And I truly like to surround myself with a lot of females because they're very strong minded. And when we came to Canada, it was just, we lived in the welfare housing. Then we end up, she had a boyfriend that used to put hands on her. And we end up, leaving that environment, thank God, and then lived in the shelter for a little bit.
Wow.
So that's when, my drive and my ambition came into play, where I wasn't chasing girls. I wasn't chasing flashy cars or jewelry or whatever the case might be. I was chasing to protect her. Right.
Wow.
My goal was to okay, how do I dreamed and lived moments when I'd be able to buy her a car, and that happened. Right. I lived and dreamed the moment where I can buy her a house, and that happened. So my drive was purely her. how to protect her, right? How to make sure she's never placed in a position where another man will put hands on her or abuse her or take advantage of her. Right. So, and I grew up in an environment where, I was surrounded with a lot of Arabs and Somalians. And I was the only white kid with, blonde hair, blue eyes. It didn't work. That just the math wasn't adding up, right? So I just had to fit in, and unfortunately or fortunately, when I used to walk into rooms, I would, have this light around me, and because I was in a dark place, in a dark environment where there shouldn't be no light, I had to find a way to start dimming myself down because I was always attacked. I was bullied. I was, jumped, robbed, and put in a bad position. So again, imagine growing up in a place where housing community. I don't know much about housing communities here in Toronto, but Ottawa, like we have a south end of the city where, when you come in, you can't come out. It's really really ruggish. It's really bad. I mean, we had every weapon possible to a mankind in the army. People had it in the hood. You understand? So it was a wild. But we grew up with that, and I had a big heart. I had a big vision, and I always wanted to protect. So even when I had to go fight someone, I would punch, and I'm like, oh my God, it feels so bad. Like I don't want it, right? Like I wasn't.
You weren't a natural fighter.
No, and I wasn't a bully, and I wasn't made to hurt.
Right.
I was made to build up, right, and motivate and try to inspire. But again, I was in an environment when we didn't have that. You had to survive. I was surrounded with wolves.
How old were you when you came to Canada?
I was 11 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't speak a word of English. You come here just with
yeah.
you and your mom.
Just my mom and I. Yeah.
How come you came?
Mom, they sell the dreams to immigrants, right? Whereas that could be a better lifestyle. So I don't know. To be honest with you, I never really asked her because the life was good back home.
Right.
I had my grandmother, I had my auntie, I had my cousins, my father who was very respected anywhere he would drive. He had escorts around him where the cars had sirens on top. He would he would never get pulled over. He was always walked with the security. So he was a top G.
Right.
And then we come here and then we go straight to the bottom, right? And I couldn't understand it. And
And for 11-year-old you, that must have been really difficult. Were you close to your dad even though your parents were separated?
Yeah.
You speak about him with a lot of respect.
Yeah, I do. I love my father. I definitely do. And I respect him. But I don't, because there was so much traumatic moments in my life, I feel like a lot of it got erased and deleted. So I don't recall a lot. But, he took care of me. He made sure I was good. Mom was a female that doesn't know how to cook.
Okay.
Mom doesn't know how to clean or do anything. My dad took care of her. He was a lot older. So he just took her from the university and kind of raised her, right? But my dad was a good, handsome guy. And, in Russia, it's okay to have a mistress and a wife. And, so my mom was a mistress, I guess you can call it. And then she became a wife. And, my dad liked to play. So she left.
It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
And so she left. Did she leave Russia to get away from your dad or just start things on her own? Or she got sold
she met someone.
Okay.
She met someone and, and she got sold the dream. So she moved. When we came to Canada, she had a man and, he liked to drink and abuse her. So that was
that must have been so hard for you to see as an 11-year-old boy.
It's tough. It's tough, to be honest. And I recall a couple moments where again, we would come home, we would hide in a mall. We lived in Ottawa, so we'd hide in a mall and we would wait for a time he would pass out so we can go back home. And if we do go back home, I knew he's gonna put her hands on her, and I would hide in a room, put headphones on or whatever the case might be, and. We celebrated. I remember a birthday, one of my birthdays. It was no lights, and and we had no money. She made me a little cake and no lights in the house, and she brought it out to me, and I remember that moment. It was I saw the pain in her, right? And then the last time he did put her hands on her, she saw my eyes change, right? That's when I either became an animal or became a different man, or became a man, I must say, right? Because that's when I grabbed, a knife, and I said, if you touch her again, there's going to be consequences for that, right? Because I couldn't live with that.
And how old were you at that point?
I think the same thing, about maybe 13, 14.
So it took a few years.
Yeah. We lived, yeah.
Wow, so you lived in that circumstance. Your mom endured.
Yes,
you were going to school. You're getting bullied at school. You come home and this is what you're seeing.
Crazy. If I can tell you, the pain daily was insane. And again, like we she would shop for me at like Value Village. She would buy me like dress shirts, and they would like, when you play piano, those dress shirts that have like, they would hang from the back. Anyways, just like suits and dress shoes, and she would dress me up and let me go to a Canadian school, and people would look at me like, who is this
What is
weirdo?
happening?
Right? This guy, buck teeth, skinny guy, who is this kid? Like weirdo, right? And it was just it was a lot of pain, right?
Yes.
But nothing. A lot of people would use that pain and be like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm emotionally scarred. Oh, here's drugs. Here's liquor. Oh, fuck, I can't live with this. Me, I use it to motivate and be like, okay, how do I become better? How do I protect her? How do I get out of this situation? How do I build myself up so I never have to be in this position, right? So I use that fuel to completely change my whole life and my perspective and my mindset, right? So, yeah, so when she saw, when I pulled the knife and I told him that, he'll never put her hands on her, she saw in me an animal, and something changed, and she got scared because she knew that would be the last time, and now I would get hurt or I would end up in jail. So literally next day, she put a restraining order, and we moved out.
Wow.
Yeah, and
so you ended up saving your mom's life.
I hope so.
Probably.
I hope that. I mean, we can call it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And so she picks you up and takes you go to a shelter because you have no family.
Yeah,
There's
nothing.
no extended friends. There's nothing that you
money,
can do. Do you stay in the same community? Do you stay in the same school?
Yes.
Or she picks you up, you move completely?
Yeah, no, we stay in the same school for a little while, yeah. And then
you go to high school, like in Ottawa as well?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I drop out, I get kicked out from I attended because I wanted to be an actor, right? Or a model or something. I was too short to be a model, so and acting, I couldn't build a portfolio, so I had no money to do so. So I just turned to the streets, and then I end up getting kicked out from this school. It's called Canterbury High School, where it's like a drama school. You have to be approved to get into it.
Okay. And so you got approved to get in.
Yeah.
How long did you go for?
I went for like a couple months, and then I end up
getting kicked out.
Yeah, I get kicked out. Yeah.
Okay. And like, were you the kid in school who was acting out?
No, I'm super respectful.
Okay.
Yeah,
and did well in school?
No,
not really.
No. I suck. I'm really bad at school. Yeah, no, I was always respectful.
School's not for everybody.
No,
that doesn't dictate anything. Like I was also a dropout.
Right.
Like, I got expelled. I didn't even get suspended. I got expelled from the York Region Board of Education.
Wow, the whole thing.
I never got suspended. I never got asked to leave. Like when it came, I don't do anything little either. So if I do it, I do it big. So I got expelled from an entire Board of Education. I appealed, self-represented, to get myself back to school, and then I dropped out the next year because I didn't want to be there anyway. But I didn't want someone to tell me I couldn't
love it.
go.
I love it.
So I get it. So you go for a couple months to do drama, but like
so I
doesn't work out.
So I get suspended, then I get expelled.
Yep.
And then I go to this I go back to the streets, and then I just go do what I do, and then
And what do you do?
I'm involved with a lot of obviously drugs, guns. Okay. We have a private jet that we fly, around back and forth, and I'm experiencing the world from a different view. And because we're growing,
How do you get into that? I'm just I guess initially, does somebody pull you in? I've had guests who are working with youth in marginalized communities that gang life can draw someone in, but you don't go from like being a 14-year-old skinny kid that gets bullied to now flying private jets around the world, moving illegal items.
Yeah.
So like,
so I would
what's the entrance?
Entrance would be I'm surrounded in that circle, so all you know is that.
Okay.
Right. So you just connect the right dots. If you're a hustler, entrepreneur, you just connect the right people with the right things, and you just start making it work. Right. I'm a business mindset. At peace, at heart. So to me, naturally, organically, I can plug certain things in and make it happen. So that's what
you were seeing around you. You were seeing drug dealing, and so you got into drug dealing. You were seeing guns be bought and sold. That's the world you got into.
So we just around that. We are around in an era where Bloods are very active, Crips are very active. I'm living in the south end of the city where it's Crips, but I'm representing another side. You're literally always involved around. We don't have no Facebook. We don't have Instagram in that era. We have nobody to look up to. We have no Bitcoin, none of that stuff.
So this is like how, when we talk like
16, 17 maybe now, right?
You're 16, 17 years old?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So we're talking like mid-2000s.
Exactly. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a completely different era, right? So we don't have, somebody I can reach out to and ask for advice. None of that. So it's either you're playing soccer, sports, or you're actively involved in the streets. right? And that's when a lot of immigration happened. A lot of Serbians, Croatians, Somalians, they start coming in. A lot of Arabs are start coming in because of the war, and it's just a mix of cultures in one block, right? One just came from a war, one just came from a cultural background, one came from an alcoholic or drug parents, and then you put them all in the mix. It's gonna something's gonna happen.
Right. And with no oversight, no programs, nobody trying to like help you overcome the trauma.
No,
Like when
no,
you're in the shelter and
no.
a lot of people out there don't understand what leads youth into committing criminal offenses, what leads them into gang life. And, it's a lack of counseling, a lack of, trauma informed therapy, a
Yep.
lack of understanding, a lack of guidance, and a lack of other opportunities.
That's
Like at
it.
that time, did you
Opportunities, yeah.
think that you could make money in a
No,
legal way?
no, absolutely not.
It was like the only option that you
that's it.
felt was available to you.
I mean, because like you said, there's no guidance, there's no options, you can't just Google and research. Hey, how do I come out of the ghetto? Well,
Right.
What are my options? No, right? There's no Chat GPT, so there's low. You're surrounded with older heads that are corrupted, and they want to put you in a platform, become their soldier, and do certain things for them. So it's constantly violence. Every single day is violence. It's robberies, it's house invasions, it's shootings, it's pain, and running away from the police, and everything is illegal. Literally, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, everything is illegal.
And so let's talk about home invasions for a second. They're so prevalent right now, and it's like the talk of dinner parties,
Insane.
right? Like
Yes.
everyone's talking about
Yes.
how to protect themselves.
Yes.
You were recently
Yes.
a victim of a
Yes.
home invasion.
That's right.
You fought off your
Yes.
invaders, at
Mm.
least
I tried.
you tried to. You got harmed
Yes.
in the process. Your
Yeah.
car got stolen, found stolen again.
Yes.
But you've been through the ringer. I know that.
Oh my God, hell and back.
Back when you're a youth, you're a
Yes.
teenager, and you're doing home invasions. Is someone paying you to do home invasions, or are you thinking this is just a way to make money? What's the motivate? Because a lot of people right now who are either victims or worried about being victims of home invasions don't understand the mindset behind it.
We never did home invasions, home physical invasions like they do now. If you see a household where there's a woman inside, or you see a household where there's bicycles inside, or kids, it's just the number one rule. You just don't attend that house. You
Right.
never go into a house when there's somebody there. You don't dramatize someone. You go into a house that's not abandoned, but let's say somebody left to Florida for a couple weeks. You go into the house where there's a drug dealer, right, or a pimp. You go into a house where they come from the same street mindset, where they're not going to call the cops, and that they follow the same rules of the streets. You never go into a civilian's place. That's just a no-no. And to me, when this happened to me, I couldn't understand what kind of world that we're living in now, that the youth generation street guys, they're not understanding the rules of the streets. Like, you don't enter a household where there's kids. If you enter a house and you see a older woman, fucking turn around, run away.
So that's how you were taught.
Of course. And it just to me, it was crazy that in my household.
Well, there's no rules anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
None of these rules exist today.
Right.
But back then, when you say I was doing home invasions,
Yeah.
you were like robbing,
Drug
other
dealers.
drug dealers,
Yeah.
pimps,
Yeah.
people like that.
Yeah. So you go for the same breed of individuals.
And now a lot of people don't realize, like, they see guns, and guns are everywhere, and guns are so prevalent, and shootings are so prevalent. But like in that life, people are arming themselves in order to protect themselves from other people in that life. Now we have a world in which people are arming themselves to go and, carjack someone who has nothing to do with anything.
Insane. And again, I don't understand it. So to me, so when this happened to me, the first thought is like, okay, is there a target on my head? Is there someone that pissed off? And when we sat back and I couldn't understand where the problem is coming from, I was really confused. Right. So, and this is the biggest thing, that nowadays, how can you use a weapon on a civilian? Like, again, go to King Street West, go party with the guys, go see the guys that are popping bottles, go rob those guys. Right? There's plenty of money out there. Right. Don't go into a suburban area where a wife and kids are sleeping, and you go, like, after that happened to me, the people that reached out to me, it is unbelievable, the stories that I've heard, and the people, what they're dealing with afterwards. And there's a girl, I've said this, in a previous story I was telling someone, where a girl was a security guard. She was protecting her daughter, and they broke into her house, and she shot in the air, like, as a warning. Then she shot someone. She did a CPR, right, to make sure the person is staying alive, or she can do her due diligence. She reached out to Alexa, said, please call 911. She heard her car start, ran outside, shot a warning shot, got into a car. The people ran away. She got into a car, put her daughter's head on the floor, and drove off. As she was driving off, they kept shooting her, and she hit a couple cars on the way and drove off. She's now facing 3 years in jail.
Yes.
Right? And she's like, I have no money. I'm a single mom. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. So to me, that clicked in. I said, oh shit, we really can't protect ourselves.
No, we can't.
Right?
We can't in this country. We have no ability to protect our own homes.
And that's scary.
At the same time as people who are involved in criminal activity don't follow what traditionally was the rules, right? When I was on the street, it was the same thing.
Yes.
Like, you don't break into a civilian's house. In fact, I had a friend who committed a home invasion that actually set the precedent for sentencing of home invasions. It was a reported decision, and he ended up getting 4 years, which at the time was huge for anyone involved in this activity. But he had gone in, he broke into a house, thought it was mine. One of my friends had ripped him off over a large quantity of meth. At the time, I was a kid, like 17 years old. And he thought the person was still at my house. He meant to break into my house, broke into the house next door, and a couple was there.
Yes.
And someone in the group was like, well, we might as well rob them since we're here. And he was like, you guys are crazy. Right. And he was literally yelling at them to stop. And the homeowners eventually, untied themselves and called the police and said, the big, tall, white guy with the blonde hair and blue eyes was telling the other guys to stop, but they wouldn't listen. Oh, he happened to have grabbed the CD and threw it on the table and was like, are you guys stupid? We're not here to sell CDs. But when he grabbed it, he left his fingerprint on the top of this CD, because we're going back, 1997, 1998 here. Yes. And his fingerprints were in the system. And so they only caught him. They didn't catch the other guys. He was the one that wanted to call it off. And it was like a huge deal that, they had gone into the home of people who weren't otherwise in the life. Yeah. Now it's like par for the course. Yeah, and look, it's like nothing.
Yeah, when this happened to me, look, at the police officer told my wife, said, we should charge him for putting your family in danger. And she's like, so what is he supposed to do? He said his job is to grab the kids, grab you, and hide in the bathroom. And I said, I'm a grown-ass man. Right. I'm a European man. I will never allow anybody come into my house, invade my privacy, or hurt me or my wife or my kids. Yes. Right? I will fight till the end. Right. So to me, that was just completely like, and, to say the least, I mean, I found out who it was and what it was. And it was just because, in our neighborhood, there was somebody moved in, they were selling drugs. And, I had the Lambo in the front, G-Wagon in the front. So it was just an easy hit. Right. Wow. So they just came in. And again, when I got
it had nothing to do with you. They didn't know who you were, what you were about.
And then, because the name is so powerful, we're sitting a couple weeks ago in the shisha lounge, and a driver comes in. He's like, Mr. Raptors, how are you? Here's a bottle for you. Just want to, send my gratitude, boom, boom, boom. So we're chit-chatting. He's like, just letting you know, I know who did your invasion. I said, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, because I drive the black car, whatever, Uber. And he's like, I had the guys in the back, and they were talking about, how they came into a house of Mr. Raptors' house. They didn't know who you were, at that point, and they're so pissed off that they didn't take anything, and nothing was, the car got recovered. All the money was not there, and the jewelry wasn't there, and they didn't know what, it was just a waste of a hit. So again, and wow. And then you place in that position. What do you do? Right. Do you handle that? You go back to your old ways, or do you just understand that's the world we live in and move accordingly? I don't know. I'm fighting these battles every single day because, I have a lot of business people around me that put their Uruses away, put their Rolls Royces away. They sold multiple of their expensive cars and watches. Now they don't want to showcase that. But these are my trophies. Right. I work so hard for that. This is for me. This is not for you. This is my appreciation. Yes. So, for me to see that, and guys are saying, oh, I'm scared to go to a gas station, in Mississauga or Brampton or Oakville at 11 o'clock at night pumping gas because I'm going to get robbed. So what the fuck is going on? Like, is that the world we live in? I know. And we sleep.
And it is the world we're living in.
Right?
I worry. I'm worried this summer. I'm putting my McLaren on the road in a couple of weeks. Like, see? And I got to think about these things.
We live in a house now, right? We have a nice big house secured completely now. We got 2 Dobermans. Now we got completely locked out gates all across our front doors. We sleep with bear sprays.
Yeah.
We have, certain things that if something happens, the kids know what to do and I know what to do. And
Right.
that's not what I moved here for.
This is 9 years of liberal government.
Right.
This is where we're at. I know.
This is wild.
I know. I
Right?
see it. I have friends of mine who have never been in the life, never have been criminal minded
Yes.
at all,
Yes.
have grown up, worked very hard their whole life, kids, married couple, like just normal, everyday civilians that were broken into 3 times. They bought a dog from Peel Regional Police.
Right.
Who you can imagine if they're trained by police, not just any police, Peel Police, what that dog would do to a human. But that's how they feel like they need to protect themselves. It's crazy that that's where we're at.
And
in Toronto.
Somebody that didn't experience that, invasions, and I hope to God nobody does, but like my kids, they can't sleep at night, right? My youngest son, Dimitri, like he's constantly every morning he'll wake up and like, Daddy, they're so stupid. They could have just done this. And he's always bringing the topic up because he's so paranoid now. He's so scared. And imagine, kids at 4:00 in the morning getting woken up with 6 guys with masks. And guns are pointing and Crystal's going like this, please, they're just kids. And they're holding it. And then they're beating the fuck out of me on the floor in front of them, right? I'm full of blood. They're just going at me, right? So, I have a little daughter. I have 2 boys. And to them, it's traumatic.
Of course.
Right? It's crazy. And then, it was just, it's a wild, to me, that's what hurt. When I laid in the hospital and I was like all messed up, I shed tears, not because of the pain on my body, but because of I seen their eyes and how scared they were, how terrified. And nobody really will understand till they have kids. But that little child seeing their father full of blood and getting beat up by 6 dudes, invading our privacy, our security, is it's pisses me off.
Of course, especially considering how hard you've worked to get out of that life.
Right.
And I know we detoured a little bit, but you have really worked hard to create a better life for yourself.
100%.
Take us through that a little bit. So like you're a young teenager, 17, 18 years old. You're very much involved in street activity. You're very much involved in criminality. What happens? And you do well.
Yeah.
Like you do well in that life.
Yeah.
Do you get your mom out of the hood?
No. So, they say that type of charismatic money or karma money, you want to call it. I never used that money to get my mom out or use it towards a positive things, more or less, if I can explain it better. I used that funds to level up, put myself in through bad positions that I was in and helping her with bills and everything else, but I never wanted to build a foundation based on drugs or paying money. Right. Or they call it like in the haram money. Right. I wanted to make sure if I build something, it's based purely on my hard work. Right. So Wraptors or anything else that I built 20 other companies was never funded by drugs.
Right.
It was purely like I went cold turkey. So, to rewind back when I was in the streets, I was placed in a position, very, very, very similar situation what you were saying about your friend, where my name was so good. And it was used in a robbery. So, to explain better, there was a couple bricks of coke that got robbed. And when the robbery happened, they said, oh, Stas said it's okay. You guys can trust me. I'll front it. He'll pay you back tomorrow and we'll get it rocking. Right. Because the name was so strong and so valuable, these guys fronted the work, and then these guys escaped the country. And then I was placed on this debt. Right. So when I got a call 2 days later.
And did you know these people before they used your name? Were these associates of yours that dropped your name?
Yes.
But you didn't give them permission to drop your name.
No.
And you had nothing to do with that deal.
Not. Exactly.
They just they knew you and they were like, oh, Stas is letting us take this.
And the call came in. The call came in when the transaction was supposed to happen. But I was, at that time I was sleeping with a girl. I looked at it, I was like, fuck, I'm not gonna answer. And it kept coming in, and I just kept declining. And the next morning when I got the call saying, there's a price on your head. I said, oh fuck. Okay. And then, Afghanis, they run Ottawa, right? These are top dogs. If Somalians run Ottawa, Afghanis run Ottawa. So I had to go and explain myself. But again, because I knew I didn't do anything, I came in as, straight in. Hey guys, what's going on? my name was used. I'm gonna find out who did it. What's going on? Let me help you. But they looked at me like, yo, this guy's fucking full of it. He set
They
it up.
thought you were in
Of
on the
course,
robbery.
of course. So I got stabbed 11 times. The gun. I came in with a gun to protect myself, and that gun was used to blow my head off more or less. But it got jammed last minute. So I remember the
Wow.
guns being held and it was shaking, and the guy was shaking, and he's like, "Oh, you pussy!" and just hit me with it, and I was on the floor already. He went to cock it and he just kept jamming, so he kept beating me with it, and then afterwards, they knew. I wasn't giving up. I was kind of putting a fight too. They took a knife and just stopped stabbing me. And
Where were you stabbed?
I was stabbed here. I was stabbed in my ass, my back, all my legs, everywhere, all my back.
So legs and torso.
Yeah, so they were trying to cut my vein here so I can get paralyzed. Right, it was the back of a restaurant. It was in the basement of a restaurant, Italian restaurant, pizzeria. So, anyways, I was getting destroyed, and I remember laying on the floor of the chair. They're hitting me with chairs. They're stabbing me. I'm trying to protect myself. I pissed myself. I'm just laying there. I'm like, fuck. My pants are all the way down already, and I'm like, this is it. And I remember, boom, the door opens up, and I kind of look up, and then there in front of me, it's a dark basement room. I look up, and I guess the cook of the restaurant opened the door because he heard the commotion. And then they all looked up, and I just knew it was like a second and a half to get away. And I just ran through the back door of the basement. There was like an exit through the garage. I exited, I got into a car, and I remember, I almost crashed into a Chinese restaurant. I was just driving. I was about to crash, losing so much blood. Blood was just squirting through my legs. And I pull up to a 7-Eleven next to a church. My mom was away at this time. And I ran in and I said, I need to make a note because if I die, this is my trace. I was here. This is my name. Please call my mom. And then anyways, I went to the hospital, even though I knew I shouldn't have go. I went in and
Did you call 911? Like,
no,
were you taken in, or you
no,
drove yourself to the
I drove,
hospital?
yeah. So I had a girl with me at that time. So, she was panicking, scared. Go to the hospital.
Had
And
she been waiting in the car
Yeah.
while you went in to deal with these people?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, so when we got to the hospital, I walked in, I lost conscience, woke up with handcuffs, right? Because, obviously when they started doing investigation, they said I came in with a gun to rob the pizza spot, and that's what they attacked me to protect the. Yeah. So, anyways, and then throughout that situation,
And what happened with that case? You get charged?
so
Were you charged with it?
there was a lot of the book opened up with a lot of faces, and they said start pointing faces, and obviously we don't live by that code, so
Yes.
I said no, and we had to fight. We had to fight through it. It was a very challenging moment for me. I was very, very concerned that my life will end at that point, but that was also a turning point in my life where I went cold turkey. Right, I realized, for every strong hand, there's a stronger hand. Because at that point, I was just way beyond living beyond my needs and beyond. I thought I was the top G. You can't touch me. I have full, 3-4 cars beside me at all times. Guys are always strapped up. I'm moving, heavy. I got a lot of money. I'm making about $30,000-$40,000 a day. Life is good, right? Nobody can touch me. And then when that happened, I realized, oh shit, it can end this quickly, and that's not what I want. And I don't want my mom to come to the graveyard and bury me. So from that point on, I just transitioned,
You
became a
quit.
different man.
You got out.
Yeah. So I remember that moment vaguely. Again, we were living in a welfare housing. I was taking a shower. I couldn't walk. Right.
So you're earning $30,000 to $40,000 per day and
Yeah.
still living in
cap. Yeah, we're moving things around. Yeah.
Right, but you're still living,
Yeah,
like
'cause
sleeping. Never mind where you're working,
Yeah.
but you're still sleeping in
there,
community
yes.
housing.
Yeah. So we're still actively in there. We got a beautiful condo here and there, but we're still in the community housing. And I remember going, I was using crutches, going upstairs to take a piss in the shower the next day after this whole happened to me, and showering, and I was supposed to do something, right, to answer what had happened to me, right?
Okay.
Retaliation, right? I had to let them know that I'm not going to back down. There's going to be consequences for
Right.
hurting me. And there was bikers outside waiting for me to give them the word and tell them it's a go. And I kept just water was dripping over me, and I was just like, how can I live with that on my heart, for the next whatever years, right? So I just kept praying, and says, okay, I really need an answer. I really need to figure out if that's like, I can't lose my reputation on the streets. I worked so hard to build myself up. This will destroy me, right? And I remember coming down in the crutches, going outside, and there was the whole neighborhood was surrounded with bikers. And I told them, yeah, it's okay, guys. We're not gonna do anything. And that point on, I lost my reputation, obviously, right? Because Stas is not that type of guy. He was supposed to, but he didn't. He's just this and
Yeah,
this
the
and that.
messages are weak.
That's it, right?
But meanwhile, the strength that it took for you to make that
Huge.
decision
Yes.
and walk away. At that point, how long had you been in the streets for? Like, how long did it take you to get to that level?
So I actively, when I was like really, heavy in it, it was like 3 years. I was actively like really running, moving things around, flying to different countries, and just doing crazy stuff. So 3-4 years was very like dominant.
Okay.
Yeah.
But had started like committing crimes before then? Like it was
Yeah,
3-4 years of being serious, but
yeah.
like, did you
So it
dabble
was-
before that?
Yeah, it was just like small things,
Okay.
right?
But I
Again,
mean,
'cause
it's the
was young.
small things that connect you to the people that are going to move
Exactly.
big things,
Exactly.
right? Which is,
Exactly.
I'm sure, a lesson you
Yes. Yes.
took with you into real business.
Yes,
It's certainly
exactly.
what I learned is
Yes.
like sometimes you got to do the small stuff in order to get to the big stuff.
Yeah. So again, that was my biggest turning point, and I thank God for that, because, like you say, it took a lot for me to not pull that, I guess, trigger, you want to say, right? To execute and pay back. So that's when my life really turned around. I said, listen, now I'm going to become a civilian. I'm going to work, and I'm going to really take hard work and dedication and really build something from nothing, because I learned the culture and the dynamics of the streets. I can use that mindset and bring it to the business world, right? And then that's when I moved over to Toronto.
How much longer did you stay in Ottawa?
I stayed I stayed for another maybe 2 months. And matter of fact, actually, I got moved by the cops. Cops actually told me that there was a hit on me, and they need me to either I'm gonna stay here and die, or they need me to move out, because there was again a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of things that were just in the air, because who did it? Where's the bricks? Where's the money? The stats rat? Did this happen? A lot of things were pieces weren't coming together,
Right.
right? So when I moved
Well,
to
and that was still on your head
exactly
of the guys that
Exactly.
initially like
exactly
took the cocaine that
Yes.
resulted in you being stabbed.
exactly
That like you don't pay that off.
No.
And did they ever find those guys?
Yeah, so moving forward, so I moved to Toronto. They moved me to Toronto. My mom, said, "Stas, I need you to live." I lived in Martin Grove for a little while.
Did your mom move with you?
No.
Your mom stayed in Ottawa.
Yeah. So
Okay.
she moved me over
And
there.
she was safe?
She wasn't. No. So they, there was a point in time where she was driving, and she got shot at, and they threw a 2x4 through the car window, through the windshield, and that's when I realized, okay, I really got to go back and clean up the closet of the skeletons that I left.
And did
Right.
you do that?
I did do that, and it was an unbelievable feeling. I'll be honest with you. It was I was in a club celebrating my birthday one time, and it was I just came back few weeks, and I'm in the club, and it's like I feel it. The door opens up, and I see a whole bunch of people walk in. I'm drinking a bottle of Grey Goose. I turn, and I see it's those guys that stabbed me, and they're walking towards me. My balls shrunk this big. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, fuck, because those emotions they're coming out again.
Yeah.
So I grab the bottle, and I'm like, fuck. This is it. This is where I end, right here in this club. This is where they're gonna finish me off. But I wasn't brave, but I was just so honest. I know I didn't do it. So if I was gonna die, I was gonna die with truth.
Right.
Right. So when they approached me, they say, "You come here," and I was like, "Fuck, that's it." So anyways, I'm shivering inside, and I can't show emotion. They walked me over to the bar, ordered a whole bunch of shots. They said, "You're gonna drink now," and then I put the bottle down. I had a shot. He says, "We respect you." I said, "Huh?" He said, "We found out to what happened. We know who did it now." And it was like a year later, almost 9 months, 10 months. We found out who did it. They will pay the consequences. We want to apologize. I know the apology doesn't do anything because your face is all fucked up, because half my face was like missing. And we had some shots. He says, anywhere in the streets of Ottawa, from this point on, you're good. Anywhere you
Wow.
go, you're good. So, I went back to my old neighborhoods. I went to the streets where I had problems with. I linked up with all the top dogs that I knew in the streets, and the problems that I had, I would sit down with them, and they would bring me back to the neighborhood and be like, "This is Stas. Nobody touches them." And then it was just like hood by hood, and I cleaned up completely everything. And soon as I knew that I'm good, where if I come back to visit mom, if I come back with my jewelry on, if I come back, to have dinner with my kids, nothing ever is going to happen to me. I knew that I emptied every fucking skeleton that I had hidden. loose. That's it. I'm good now. Right. And, I let people know I'm a civilian now. I don't live by the same rules. I never ratted. I never betrayed. I never fucked anybody over. I'm going legit.
Right.
Right. And, they had respect for that. And I moved on and never looked back.
So you moved to Toronto.
Yes.
You're starting from scratch.
Zeros.
And
Zeros.
you don't want to be involved in any criminal activity. Like
No.
you're not bringing that life with
No.
you to Toronto in
No.
any way.
Yeah.
So how do you then go from, and how old were you?
So now I'm at like 24 maybe.
So 24.
Yeah.
You got nothing to do with, and you're not in the car business either.
No.
So how do you become Mr. Raptors?
Yeah, so I just started dabbling with like, I knew I wanted to. I like making things pretty, right? So I always like to dress up, my girlfriends or myself. So I'm like, let me use that mindset and dress up companies, right? Let me turn them around. Let me use the marketing aspect that I know and the videos that I've been watching with all the rappers. Let me bring the hype to companies. So, I started working at a meat factory packing sausages for like this Polish company. And working, saving a little bit of money here and there. I was driving like a 2001 or 2002 S-Class. I put because I was doing marketing for this restaurant, he had gifted me the car, and then I used that as a collateral at a bank, which they borrowed me $9,000. Then I went and finessed my way in and buying a tanning salon at Lakeshore here, Ontario, for $11,000. And then just started kind of like moving things around. Just like I was moving work on the streets, I started moving companies. So I would come in, see, okay, this needs paint, this needs that, build it up, make it nice and presentable, flip it. Next, let's do this, let's do that.
So you're buying and selling companies?
Yes.
Okay.
So I started with like an $8,000 company. Then I opened a clothing fashion line, ended up selling that, and just started building myself up. And then because I started gaining knowledge of the marketing and how to brand correctly, a lot of people started investing into me and say, Stas, listen, can you jump in on the company here, windows and door company? We'll give you 40%. Help us build this out. Make $1 million there. Boom, flip next. And I just started kind of moving things around this way. And just naturally, organically, just started growing into becoming a businessman. But I was always, people were scared to kind of do business with me because I was man of all trades, master of none. Right. So I was like, okay, Stas knows what he's doing, but fuck, he's got restaurants, he's got this, and he comes from the streets. I don't really trust making a move with him at the moment. Right. So till I became 3 years deep into Wraptors, people start recognizing me for my craft. Okay, like he's solidly sticked around with one company and kept building it up. So let's see what we can do with him.
And when do you start wrapping cars?
So I never wrapped anything in my life. I don't know anything about wrapping cars. Yeah. So, and I don't know much about cars. Like you're a car girl, like your shit. I don't know, right? I just see something that's cool and funky, and
You're like
it.
That's pretty. Let's do something with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
so how do you open up the first Wraptors location?
Yeah.
How does that come to be born?
Good question. So I just, my wife was just pregnant, and I was in a shisha lounge, and I saw this cool car that was wrapped. And the gentleman that was driving this car, he was an installer. And I said, listen, I saved up some money. I think I had like $15,000, $16,000. And my wife was very connected to the streets as well. So she had some favors with certain people. So I said, listen, let's use that favor and my money that I have. Let's invest into this guy. And he's, we'll open up a business. And, for a whole year, he was just going back and forth. Wasn't sure, wasn't ready. Finally made a decision to come on board. And then we opened this little shack in Mississauga where it looked like a strip club. So a lot of LEDs, it's all black. It looked like a massage parlor. People, when they dropped the cars up, were very nervous because they felt like this was a chop house.
Right.
They didn't know what the hell it was, right? But I had a vision. I knew I wanted to make a place where it's funky, it's cool, it's a vibrant, atmosphere. It's a lifestyle.
It's like a mechanic shop mixed with like a nightclub.
Yes.
If you put the two,
love it. That's Wraptors.
Because as you know, I've come up to see your shop now, and you walk in, you're like,
exactly.
It looks like it could be a nightclub or even like an art gallery. Like you've got amazing art everywhere.
Yeah. So that was the whole idea, right? So and then we did this for 11 months, and I got bored naturally because I'm an entrepreneur. I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go somewhere else now. And I'm like, let me try selling it. And then boom, when I put it up for sale, so many heads came on board. Everyone wanted a piece of Wraptors, and I was like, what the hell? And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can do the franchise model. And I tried that and it worked.
Right.
Right. And then I opened the second one and I opened the third. And then those collapsed. And then I realized what went wrong and what needs to be done and the right people that need to be in your team, because the reason they failed is because I had toxic individuals in the company, right? They were abusing the drugs, flashing too much. They never seen money before. So the employees and the partners that I had, it was all new to them. They never experienced this glamour. They never had girls before. They never had money before. They never had cars before. So when you put that into a man, you can see real characteristics come out, right? So, and I started realizing that's how, from this point on, I'm going to judge anyone I sell location to. I want to see how they're under the influence of alcohol, because a lot of guys get alcohol in their system. The balls become bigger, and they're the men of the town. They'll start mistreating you, misbehaving, and you can see the true self. I want to see how, when they get a little bit of money, right, how they act when they get money, because now again the demons come out. So, and I want to see, if they got ethics and if they believe in God, if there's, something more valuable than the flash, where's the destination that they're going for. So a lot of those characteristics, I start judging and placing the right people around me only based upon those characteristics. If it fits with me and it fits with those things that they pass, now I'm going to put you in my team. Right. So
I meet a lot of people that are scared to leave their friends behind. And I'm putting that in air quotes because real friends are few and far between. We go through life with a lot of acquaintances and a lot of, good people in that moment. But a lot of people find themselves looking around their friend circle and realizing that's what's holding them back. And they know it. They know that that's what's holding them back. Mm-hmm. But they're so afraid to be alone, or they're so afraid to be judged, or they're so afraid that, they're going to be seen as, oh, this person thinks they're better than I am.
Yes.
It's not about better than, it's just different than. How did you sort of manage those emotions or those thoughts in order to leave behind the people that were holding you back?
That's a good question. I think you just get to a stage where, you have to better yourself. And, when you level up, certain things are going to start falling off, right? Like the tree with the branches and the leaves. So same idea here, where you just have to realize if you want to get to a different destination, you have to use different oils and different gas to speed up the process, and those people will drag you down. For me, again, I just went cold turkey. I didn't care what anybody looked at me, how they looked at me, what they said about me. I knew where I was going and what I had to do to be where I wanted to be. I had such an urge for success that I was ready to leave everything behind me. And again, that's maybe my problem, because even with our mutual friends that we have, I don't call and check up on them. Right. I don't show up to certain events because, again, I have a certain destination to get to. I will call you when we're there, when I'm stable and I'm happy and I'm fruitful and I can, help you out as well. And we can all of us grow. But if I can't bring value to you at this point, and I understand sometimes friendship and just being there is more valuable than anything. But me, I always look at it like, if I can bring you value, I don't want to be around you because I don't want to bring you down. Let me get there and then we'll chat. Right. So I maybe that's wrong, maybe that's not. But again, I always looked at it in a way where, like, if I don't bring something to the table, there's no reason for me and you to sit, because I don't want to, if I know you're shining, I don't want to dim your light. Right. And even like when the whole situation happened to me, like all our mutual friends reached out to us, I didn't want nobody around me.
Right.
I don't want to see me vulnerable. I want you to see me smile and strong, because that's the energy that I want you to align with me on.
Yeah, I mean, even your videos were like you basically saying like, I'm okay, I'm good. It was more to reassure other people. And those of us who obviously like love and care about you were reaching out to you, reaching out to your wife, like saying like, what do you need? What do you guys need from us right now? Because we can give. And that's important though. Like, I get it too. As you know, like my mom died 4 years ago and like rocked my world in ways that like, I was never planning. She wasn't, she'd been sick for about a year and a half, but I didn't think it was going to come to that until obviously it was like right in my face.
Right.
And I pushed away from everyone. I fell into a horrible depression, and I was like, I do not want to even tap into those amazing relationships that I know probably, might have brought me out, quicker or better, but I just couldn't. I knew that I was going. So when you say, I don't know if it's good or bad, I think it's like, it's good or bad depending on
Right.
who you are and what your situation is. So we're not here to like judge good and bad, but
Right.
it's important for people out there who are struggling to know that like you can take that time you need to regroup and come back in a way that makes sense for you.
I like that.
And I think the true friends are those that like will just be waiting for you.
That's it.
You know, like
And
I didn't
appreciate it,
lose friend going through that hard time.
Yes.
And those that I did were never my friends, right? And I recognize that
That's it.
like really easily.
Right.
Like if I couldn't come back,
Yes.
you know, a year and a half later from being in this like deep, dark depression
Yes.
and restart what we had,
Yeah.
we didn't have
That's
anything
it.
anyway. I don't really care.
So it's almost like a blessing in disguise.
It
Yeah,
is
right.
because
Yeah,
it
like-
shows you who's really
Yes.
there for you.
Yes.
The ones that are waiting at the end of the day for you to be ready to like reconnect
That's
at
right.
the end.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I get it. So Raptors has been this incredible success.
Amazing. Yeah.
You know, you bought your mom
Yes.
her house, which
Yes.
is
Yeah.
so
Right.
incredible that
Yes.
you enter street life to do that. Don't do it
Yeah.
because you spend your money stupidly, as
Yes.
most people do.
Yeah.
And you know, short-term pleasure. Like I get it. I see it a lot with people around me, and it's not just with people who are living street life. I know lawyers like that.
Right.
I do. I know
Right.
lawyers that have worked, you know, 5, 10, 15 years and they don't have any money.
It's crazy. Yeah.
You know, they spend the
Yes.
money that they have and there's no future. And, you know, I know a lot of defense lawyers that become crown attorneys because that has a pension and, you know, a retirement plan. And it's like, but if you make enough money and you put it away into
Yeah.
savings and
Yeah.
you use your money to make
Yeah.
money, you don't
Yeah.
you don't need a government pension. But
yeah.
anyways,
That's
I don't judge
interesting.
that either.
Yeah.
I think it's everybody needs like better money management.
For sure.
Who taught you yours? Because you have used money to grow in exponential ways
Yeah.
and to provide, you know, for your family, for your house, and for your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the streets, I guess, right? Just being able to always not, you know, I have it on my chain where it says scared money don't make money. So I feel like money has to move around. Money is energy. So I don't like money sitting. I always like to play with it and invest in certain things. You know, and right now we have acquisitions in place where people, you know, throwing me $20 million, $22 million to buy us out. And
Wow.
yeah, and for me, you know, coming from where I come from, sitting at the tables with, you know, 5, 6, 7 investors from New York, from Washington, from Dubai, and they're, you know, offering me, please, like, sign this paper. Let's go into business together. It's a wonderful feeling, right? So yeah, I feel like I was never scared. I always knew how to make money. Money is a tool. And managing money and saving money is obviously, you have to have those skills. It's not for everybody, right? So,
would you sell Raptors? Is that like your baby, or would you sell it? Because those are some
Yeah.
decent numbers.
yeah,
Like 20, 30 million is nothing to sneeze at.
But after capital gains,
Yes.
right? After taxes, what are you left with?
Okay, well,
Right?
if there's a shift in government,
Yes,
would
that's
you?
it. Yeah. I feel like there's still.
And I mean from like an emotional attachment. Like, would you?
I don't have an emotional attachment anymore. If you asked me about a year ago, it was a different story. Now
Okay.
I'm becoming more of a corporate businessman. I'm structuring the company. I'm becoming the founder. I'm not the entrepreneur anymore. I'm not the businessman. I'm a founder. So I like to just oversee what's going on and putting the right moves into play. I understand like these podcasts, you know, dinners and meetings. Those are the things that move the company now.
Right.
Not me being day-to-day operational in the back managing my guys.
Yes.
So would I sell the company? Not for another 2-3 years. I feel like I want to build the valuation a little bit bigger. If Qatar, Dubai comes into play, LA, and you know, downtown Miami, New York opens up, I feel like, you know, the valuation will go up a little higher, and you know, there we can talk. There we can discuss. Yeah, I do. I feel like my era. I'm 37 now, right? I feel like the chains and the jewelry I want to put away now. I like my, you know, like a nice little trousers, a nice little dress shoes, and a dress shirt, and just like have nice dinners and travel and enjoy, you know, great meetings and just be around good people. I feel like I'm in that era now because I survived in the last, as you know, in the last, you know, 9 months, a horrific episodes of my life where, you know, a lot of people said, I don't even know how you came back. You would have taken some people 2-3 years to come back. And
Some people never come back.
right, there you go.
Some people endure that level of violence that you went through in your household with your family there,
right.
and they never fully recover. Understandably,
Right.
like it shakes
And the
them
business.
to the core.
So imagine, I mean, I don't want to really get too deep into
Yes.
that, but the family and me being assaulted and robbed and house invasions one, but what had happened after that with the business and certain things that happened, it was just unbearable. I'll show you pictures after. It was not normal.
Right.
Right. So, and my mom said, listen, Stas, look at it as like a phoenix that was burned down and you came back to it as a different mindset, a different person. And that really, hit me because, we sat back and my wife and I, we Easter, we're talking about yesterday. And I said, we really did survive the worst of the worst that could have really happened to us.
Yes.
We lost the baby along the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Right. So, and throughout horrific, thing that happened in the business, I didn't think I can ever come back to it. It was millions and millions and millions and millions of damages. And we regrouped, we put our new team members into place, and we really understood who was there for us through this time and who is going to push the brand to go further from this point on. And I realized how strong the business is to be able to survive that. Right. So, and again, so it was just.
Well, it's you, right? You're the
Yes.
business, and
Yes.
you're, not doing it alone, obviously. Like, Crystal's an
Yes.
incredible
Yes.
partner who is
100%.
super strong. Anyone
Yes.
that meets her knows, like, she is a
Yeah,
force.
she's
And
cool.
that's huge. I think that, like, having the right partner beside you is everything.
Oh, that, yes.
And it can honestly, like, either propel you to greatness or sink you like
That's it.
fucking Titanic.
That's it.
There's no
You
question.
see that? Yep.
And so it's amazing to see, you guys, and I'm excited to see you show up again at some
Yes.
of the social events
Yes.
that
Yes.
we miss you at, for
Thank you.
sure.
Yes.
But, all understanding, like, that's the thing, right? You step back and you regroup and you
Regroup.
come at it bigger, better, and from a different angle.
That's it. That's exactly it. So different angle, and that's the new approach. And I'm excited for you to see what we got cooking, and from our product line that we had launched, and I gave that business to Crystal. Like we opened a factory here in Canada where we produce locally, tire shine ceramic coatings, and we just signed a huge deal with 7-Eleven and Costco. The Toronto Star and Global Mail doing an article on me. Our product line being number one right now. So there's a lot of things that are cooking up behind the scenes that I'm just keeping very quiet, and when it's ready, I'm just gonna put the cherry on top.
I love
Right?
it.
Yeah.
I love it. This was amazing. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you took
Thank
the
you.
time to come in
Appreciate
and share your story. I really think that people are going to learn so much from it, benefit so much from it. I hope you keep doing these talks
Thank you.
because honestly, the strength that you can tap into is something that people don't know how to find in themselves, and everybody has it.
Right.
But they don't know it. They don't know how to see it. They don't know how to connect to it.
That's right.
So I hope you keep sharing that with
Thank
other
you.
people.
Means a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Raptors, it's been a pleasure.
Thank
Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right.